Welcome back to Kragerö in Norway, where after a brief fly past, the 8A class, that's 2 litre, and 6C class, that's 1.3 litre, braced themselves for business and set off. But when they returned at the end of lap 1, Britain's worst fears were unfolding. Söderlind's Demon Hotshot, minus its modifications, had stormed into the lead. Nick Barsh, taking a string of uncharacteristic risks, was not surprisingly the best of the Brits, albeit 4 seconds down, with Bob Reeder's Scandinavian-built Argo occupying 3rd position. In C-class, local mark Arnie Mork was making his mark, storming to the front, averaging speeds of almost 64 miles an hour. Just passing co-favourite C140 there, Kent Olsen from Sweden, and providing further proof of the Tintoriers' huge potential. Sharon Attlee was flying the Union Jack in 3rd, but like Barsh was suffering from a boat, good in its day, but not in this company. Not too good a start either for Sweden's Christian Gallerstedt. He was disqualified for going the wrong side of a mark. 0 points. Elsewhere, the Gittins brothers, Rob McCarthy, Mick Archer and Bob Baker, were enjoying a ding-dong battle for minor placings, with never more than 100 metres separating the boats, or half a mile an hour between them on the clock. But all that was of little consequence to the leader, Söderlind, and his co-driver Per Johnson. They went on to win, averaging almost 80 miles an hour on the tiny circuit, and leaving current champions Barsh and Anstis with plenty to think about, if their tottering world crown was not to fall completely out of reach in Heat 2. Reeder, on the other hand, would consider his hard-earned 3rd a bonus and a nice springboard from which to launch his final challenge. In 1.3 litre, Arnie Mork, shadowed all the way by Carlson, completes his first-round salvo without serious challenge, with Sharon Attlee gamely hanging on to 3rd in spite of some seriously superior firepower out front. And no doubt where the big celebrations were, this was Söderlind's first OCR encounter. But he was quick to point out the race wasn't as easy as it may have looked.
Yeah, but I was afraid of the Samsung boat. He was a very tough driver. Every turn he was in back of us.
Were you absolutely on full power today, or were you keeping a bit in reserve?
I could drive a little bit faster on the long runs, but we made it... we take no risks.
Very pleased with the way our boat went, but obviously not quite quick enough. Couldn't do anything else. I mean, I was delighted with the way our boat was going, and he was obviously a couple of miles an hour faster than us on the straights. We closed him on the bends a little, but we lost it all on the straights.
What can you do to make up those 2 mile an hour?
Not a lot. I think his boat is obviously a faster designed hull than ours. I mean, I don't think we can do an awful lot. We were going as quick as we normally can. So unless we get a little bit of lumpy water or something, maybe that'll help.
And for local hero Arnie Mork, a home win that rewards his efforts in getting the organisers to race here.
Now it's just great because it's my hometown, so I'm very pleased and, to do it.
And who do you think your biggest threat is?
That's a Swedish boat who's coming after me, because it's pretty fast. It was an 18-foot smuggler.
And so the scoreboard after race 1 confirming Söderlind's rich haul of 400 points. And the ominous manner in which it was achieved certainly leaves Barsh and Reeder with lots to do. In C-class, Mork and Carlson look set to go all the way, with their little encounter leaving Sharon Attlee to step in and pick up the pieces, should they get in each other's way. So, to day 2, round 2, and plenty more wonderful Norwegian sunshine to warm the crowds even more. Business was certainly brisk in the dry pits. But nothing like it was in the wet pits. Frantic prop testing was the order of the day, as everyone endeavoured to squeeze that vital extra mile per hour from their speeds. Even low-friction go-faster helmet polish was extracted from the depths of the toolkit to help in the rearguard action. Although Nick Barsh was quietly admitting the only way his boat would go any faster would be off the cliff top. However, there's always one air of confidence in the British camp, Sharon Attlee. Big crowds, though, again for day 2, although quite how many had come just to watch the start boat perform was debatable. Its flashy paint job once again disguised its lack of acceleration, and as in Heat 1, at a dubious 5 knots, most of the competitors were leading the way. Not for long, though. Leading the way at the end of lap 1, Heat 2 was once again A68 Mike Söderlind. Behind Söderlind, Barsh and Anstis were still on song. But once more, it was to be the opera of the Phantom that neither wanted to hear. But there were little rays of hope along the way. Reeder in third was definitely closer to Barsh, and Barsh was closing quietly on the Swede. Meanwhile, Mork was going about his business in much the same way he did in round one, clinically precise and always just doing enough to stay ahead of Carlson. And in third, Gellerstedt was making his personal point after going walkabout in Heat 1. And I'm sure OCRDA Chairman Paddy Riley was pretty sure about his.
Well, I think it's wonderful. It's the first international race we've been associated with. First time we've really travelled abroad. The Norwegians made us feel really welcome. It's a new type of racing for them, and I think it's going well ahead, and that the Norwegians, the Swedes and the Scandinavians will accept OCR as being a great sport. This is the first time they've seen that we do not race with certain things on the boat, because our aim is to keep OCR as inexpensive as possible, so we get more drivers, which are short and offshore all over. So I think we will come together a little bit at a time and cement a structure of rules that will suit every country.
Few would disagree with that. OCR remains refreshingly free from the politics that have destroyed so many classes. Back on the course, Mork was well on his way to adding another 400 points to his maximum, although he'd still failed to break that invisible umbilical cord with boat number 140. Up front, Hotshot had still led the charge, although Barsh was now close enough to feel the spray. And perhaps refreshed by the cool Nordic waters, he was finding a new resolve in the old ship. This was as nail-biting a moment as had been witnessed all weekend. Could Barsh pull off the unexpected? Well, no was the quick answer when both boats reappeared. However, the gods, the jury that is, were to smile sweetly on the Brit. Söderlind was adjudged to be ahead of the start boat. And although his argument, I would have had to be stationary to be behind it, had much merit, Barsh was promoted. Completing some much better entertainment, Reeder and Gittings settled their differences in favour of Friday's silver medalist, making it a much better day for the Brits. But not all round. Sharon Attlee was almost lapped as Arnie Mork stepped on the gas to keep clear of a late Carlson charge. And so an exciting finale was in store. Söderlind and Barsh had a win each. With the pressure on the Swede now, Barsh clearly had nothing to lose in the final encounter. And in C, Mork had a full house, but ever mindful, no doubt, if Carlson were to win, anything other than the top three would fail to keep the trophy in Kragerö. And so to the final action of the championship. All to play for in A, and all to hang on for in C. Despite promises of a fresh start boat for the final, Diablo was on station at 4 p.m. to lead the pack away. This time, however, with a new procedure and closely followed by Robert McCarthy, who figured he couldn't be penalised that way. The idea was to build up speed and catch everyone unawares. Unfortunately, in the event, the only one caught out was McCarthy. All the rest had already gone. Then, after the customary wait, sure enough, it was Mike Söderlind setting the record straight, with a searing burst down the home straight to stay well clear of Barsh. In fairness to the Brit, he'd got close to the Swede at times in round two. Could he go one better this time? And there was a tremendous battle behind him. Gittings was ahead of Reeder for the first time. And with him in sight, that might just push Barsh to find the extra fraction he needed. Time would tell. Meanwhile, in C-Class, Carlson was exactly where he wanted to be, up front. Sharon Attlee, after an indifferent second round, was back to her best. And in third place was the current 1.3-litre world champion. But where was Mork? Answer, he was hanging out the washing.
It was in the start to run, it was in the first turn boy, running that with three boats in a row beside each other, and then the next turn I was pressed into a rock with a black pole on and hit the rock and turned over.
So desperately unlucky for Mork, but not so far for Barsh. He was about to receive the early Christmas gift he could have only dreamt of. Söderlind was sidelined, or so it appeared. Slowing right down, the Swede was in trouble. Meanwhile, back at the start-finish line, Gittings was still showing some of the form responsible for his second position in the UK League. He was extending his lead over Reeder, also suffering slight loss of power. The next boat then would win the championship. And it was Söderlind. In a quite remarkable twist to the tail, Barsch had made an unbelievable error, passing the wrong side of a buoy. Realising his mistake, he turned around to correct the error. Meanwhile, Söderlind managed to fire up his powerhouse and after a few coughs, cleared the blockage and stormed on to claim 400 points and take the A-Class Championship of the World. In C-Class, Carlsen also made the most of his luck. The early departure of Mork meant he was never really seriously challenged. So, in the A, there wasn't an awful lot in it in the end. Söderlind proved design is merely a wind of change, and Barsch probably proved once and for all he's the best driver in the division. In C, confirmation of Carlsen's late change of fortune, his first world title. But back to Söderlind.
We had some luck because E828, he rounded a buoy wrong way, so we had to turn back. And then we thought that now it's great, but our engine stopped.
Oh,
so it was a real race anyway.
And
we had a lot of luck.
So the outcome was a new OCR champion in a new country and a new commitment to launch the sport into a new international arena. I'll drink to that. Long live OCR.